Alright, so before we start this part, I do want to address something over here that happened like a couple of parts ago. Like, remember when we had the discussion in regards to the man from 19 years ago and Erica? And okay, I gave my thoughts towards that. I do believe that I did believe that the man from 19 years ago is not Erica. Like, I gave you my thoughts in regards to that at that point. However, apparently I misunderstood what Donoa was saying over there. I thought that he was of the belief that the man from 19 years ago might possibly be Erica, and that's what I thought initially, but apparently I kind of misunderstood what he was saying there. And he did say the words two undesired pieces, which blatantly means that he's thinking of Erica and the two men from, like, two men, Erica and the man from 19 years ago as completely different pieces, not the one and the same. If he didn't say that, if he didn't say those specific words, I would have thought that, well, that he's thinking of the one and the same and all that, but no. He did mention that that the two are actually different. So yeah, there's that. I guess so. It happens. It certainly happens. And also one more thing that I want to mention is how, well, Lambda Delta is the one who prepared the game before October 4th hits and all that. As such, Lambda Delta is the one who has influence over what she is gonna show. Whereas Ben Castell, well, she, at least from what I'm understanding, Ben Castell doesn't have influence over the game until the game actually starts on October 5th. Because, well, that is when she introduced Erika. But before that, the one who has the influence is Lambda Delta. So she is the one who can influence such. And why would Lambda Delta use one of Ben Castell's pieces, such as Erica, in order to do that? In order to say that the man from 19 years ago is Erica? Nah, doesn't make sense, doesn't it? So yeah, that is another one, and that is another thing for why I'm thinking that Erica and the man from 19 years ago are not the same. They are two completely different pieces, and they have no connection to each other whatsoever. So yeah, there's that.
こんな場所があるなんて
信じられん。おやつめ。
Everyone was stunned by the gold. The first one to break the silence and jump around in ecstasy was Hideyoshi. With his ohs and his wah-ha-ha-ha. Letting out an excited laugh, he clung to the wall of gold, and he felt the cold, hard touch of it all over his cheek.
こりゃすごいで。ほんまもんやで。親父め、こんな黄金をこんなふざけたところに溜め込みやがって。
これだけあればもう何も怖くない。どんな試練だって乗り越えられる。ローザー姉さん姉さん、これで私たちは幸せになれるよね。
Evan and Rosa started walking towards each other at the same time, and hugged each other as they broke down crying. Oh my goodness! Truly a Christmas miracle once again, for them to hug each other like that. I say again because we've seen something like that at the end of Game 3, except it was Eva and Natsuki. Because of their son and daughter relationships that they found out. I was about to say their sons, because I was thinking of canon. I mean, hey, who knows? Ecstasy and shock, wonder and sighs, after stepping forward in front of the pile of gold that caused these mixed emotions. Erika spoke as though she were an announcer in some show.
この世が金ならこの黄金は幸せの結晶です。 おめでとうございます、皆さん。この発見が皆さんの人生をより豊かなものにすることを心よりお祈りいたしております。
脱帽だわ。この島に来て丸一日さえ過ごしてないあなたが碑文を解いてしまうなんて。
一日で解けないなら何日をかけようとも解けません。灰色の脳細胞はひらめきを与えるのに瞬きする以上の時間を必要としませんので。そして私一人ではこの謎を解くことはできませんでした。バトラさんの功績もどうか称えてあげてください、皆さん。私はこの発見を放棄します。推理が正しかったことが証明されただけでもう満足していますので、黄金発見の功績のすべてをバトラさんに譲りたいと思います。
Smart. Pin it all on Battler so that everyone would gang up on him, specifically.
私はここにおりますが、以後はいないものとしてどうぞお話をお続けください。バトラさんはいとこの皆さんに気づかれぬように大人の皆さんだけを呼び出しました。それが意味するところはただ一つ。皆さんに本当の親族会議を開いていただきたいからに他なりません。
エリカ、勝手に仕切るんじゃねえ。
これは失礼しました。それでは議事の進行役を譲ります。では誰に？
Shrugging, Erika looked around at everyone. After a short period of silence, Eva made the first move.
昼間の取り決め、全員忘れてないでしょうね。
Okay, well, I guess so. It is time for the show to start. There is no avoiding it. In that case, I'm just gonna sit back and see what the conclusion is gonna be for this one. While I drink some juice here.
ああ、4人で25億ずつを山分けだ。そして次期当主にはさらに100億。
お待ちなさい。黄金の発見が次期当主を決めるなどと誰が決めたのですか？
おっと、そうはいかんで、夏日さん。これまでずっとそれを前提に話を進めてきたはずやで。今さらそれは白々しいとちゃうんか？
そうだわ。使用人の誰かが碑文を解いてしまって次期当主を名乗るかもしれないって怯えてたのは夏日姉さんじゃない。
どこにもそうだという明記はないがね。
卑劣感！私たち全員はそういう認識だったでしょうが。
そうだぜ兄貴、今さら手のひらを返そうってのか？
明文化されてなくてもそれは間違いなく私たちの共通認識だったはず。話にもならないとおっしゃるのはどうなのかしら。当主様の碑文を勝手に解釈されるのは困ります。黄金を見つけたらそのものが次期当主になるとどこに記されているというのです。当主様の碑文は当主様が決めたもの。皆さんに決めつける権利などありません。
夏日、落ち着きなさい。
これが落ち着けるというのですか？確かに碑文を解いた功績は素晴らしいと思います。バトラ君にも何かの見返りがあっても良いとは思います。しかしそれが半分というのは明らかに逸脱していますし、それ以上に発見者だから次期当主という論法はなおまかり通りません。
卑怯だわ夏日姉さん。今日の昼間にしてた話と全然違う。
同感だぜ。明文化されてなくても碑文を解いたやつが次期当主になるってのは俺たちの不分律で最前提だったはずだ。それをこの土壇場でごちゃごちゃ言い出すのはフェアじゃねえぜ。ああ、フェアじゃねえ。
とにかくこの黄金はお父様の黄金です。お父様の許可なく勝手に分配を決めていいものではありません。
そらない。そら卑怯やで、夏日さん。 わしらその話を延々と昼間にしたんやで。昼間の話を全部チャラや言うんか。そらあんまりやで。
多数決で決めればいいのよ。黄金を発見したバトラ君が次期当主。私も夫も異議はないわ。ルドルフたちは？ローザは？
Oh, hot damn. Eva, out of all people, has no objections to someone else getting the headship. But I guess I can see why that is. Again, Lambda and Burn, they are the ones playing this game. The reason why Eva wants Beller to be the successor is because that is what Ben Costello wants. Because this is not what Natsuki wants. At least, that is how I see things right now. Unless, realistically speaking, this is part of their plan to try and bring Kinzo into this.
意義なんかねえぜ。バトラー、よくやった。
私も異議はないわ。バトラ君は非分に選ばれた正当な跡継ぎよ。不満ならお父様に直接聞けばいいんだわ。
そうね。夏日姉さんの言った通り、非分の謎を出題したのはお父様。そしてこの黄金の本来の持ち主もお父様だわ。だったらお父様に話を聞くべきじゃないのかしら。バトラ君という発見者はどう扱われるのか、それについて決めていいのはお父様だけのはずだわ。それは
だから落ち着けと言ったのだ。
ローザとキリエさんの言う通りだわ。お父様に聞きましょうよ、お父様に。もはやね、兄さんたちの出番じゃないのよ。
せやせや、お父さんを連れてこんかい。あんたらじゃ話にならへん。ほんまの親族会議を始めようやないか。眠いから明日にしろっちゅう問題に見えまっか。これ舐めとったらえらい問題になりますぜ。おう、聞いとるんかい。お前らじゃ話にならん言うとるんや。たったとお父さん連れてこんかい。
親族会議っていつもこういうのなんですか？
Pretty much. It basically feels like a rerun at this point.
俺が知るか。
腹の中ではいつもこうなのでしょうね。どうもこの場は金蔵さんじゃないと収められなくなるみたい。子供の喧嘩に余命あとわずかと宣告されてる今になってもまだ呼び出されるなんて、どういう気持ちかしらね、金蔵さん。それを想像、いいえ、推理するのもおつなものです。
The parents ignored Beller and Erica and kept yelling at each other, on and on. Even though Beller had more or less imagined that this sort of thing happened behind the scenes, this was the first time he had seen it. He had suspected it since 6 years ago, and he'd been able to get a pretty good idea of what this was like by the darkening expressions on his parents' faces when this time of year drew near. However, this argument his relatives were having before his very eyes was much more ugly than he had imagined. He was very glad that he called the adults out here without letting the cousins catch wind of anything. Perhaps because everyone was tired out from the seemingly endless argument, they took a short break. It was decided that this family conference inside the Golden Land should be moved over to the mansion. This place may have been gorgeous, like a VIP room, but there was no ventilation, and it was a little cold. It wasn't well suited for a long conversation. And they thought of the possibility that someone might carry the gold away while their backs were turned. But it wasn't as if anyone could manage much with just human hands, and a small amount of time when they had 10 tons of gold to deal with. In fact, It even seemed as though having this mountain of gold in the background was robbing them of the ability to make sound decisions. So they agreed to return to the mansion, in part so that they could regain their composure and continue the conference more ruthlessly.
それでは私は今夜はこれで失礼します。これ以上はお邪魔でしょうから。
お、悪いな。気を使わせちまったか。
あなたへのお礼は明日改めてさせてちょうだいね。恥ずかしいところを見せてごめんなさい。
あなたは辞退すると言ったけど、私たちはあなたへの感謝の気持ちを込めて第一発見者の一人にふさわしい分け前を用意させていただくわ。ねえ兄さん。
君ほどの人だ。我々の事情は察してくれると思うね。
$20 billion in gold wasn't something they wanted out in the open. They didn't want an outsider like Erika telling people about it. Of course, Erika had already deduced that much. She wore an unpleasant smile on her face, as though she understood all too well.
私のことはお気になされなくて結構です。もちろん口外する気もありません。したところで証拠を示せぬ限り誰も信じないでしょうし、今夜は良いものを見せてもらいました。眼福でしたので私はこれでもう十分です。
そうね。10トンの黄金なんてなかなか見られるものじゃないもんね。
Getting to see the gold was the feast for the eyes. Of course not. From Erika's dark nature, it was easy to guess what she was so happy about seeing. I thought about telling her to get the hell out of here already, but I wanted out myself. I tried to head back to the guest house along with Erika. However, Kirie-san grabbed my shoulder.
バトラ君はダメよ。あなたも一緒に来てちょうだい。
せやせや。君は今や立派な次期当主なんやで。お父さんにお目通りして早くそれを認めてもらわんとな。
それを決めていいのは当主様だけです。勝手なことを決めないように。
バトラ、面倒だろうがもうしばらく付き合ってもらうぜ。お前は何も言うな。黙ってうつむいてりゃいい。分かったな。
好きにしやがれ。
Wow. Wow. It would have been easy to say that I had no interest in being successor to the head. But I was sure that would only add more oil to the fire. Even if I had been ordered to keep quiet, I was certain that staying shut up like a clam was the wisest thing to do. In that case, would it really be so bad if they just let me go back to the guest house? Dad put his arm firmly around my shoulder, and I told him to quit crowning me. But it didn't make any difference.
Hibun, 解けたな。お前のお望み通りに。お前がゲームマスターの時にはいつも手紙が来るもんな。碑文を解いてみろ。解けなきゃ皆殺しだ。みたいな。
Why did she want to make us solve the riddle of the epitaph? By solving it, we found a mountain of gold. Yippee for us! And what about Beato? Does she gain anything by having us find the gold? Or does she lose something?
チェスパン思考にのっとる限り、人は自らが損になる一手は打たない。だからお前は、俺たちが碑文を解くことで何か得をするはずなんだ。
That has been my fault since the very beginning. Hell, I even said to myself that solving the epitaph is somehow tied to Balor's sin. I mean, the epitaph has been solved for the second time, and this time by none other than Balor himself. With the help of Erika too, but Balor reached the conclusion of the epitaph, and yet, nothing. At least in Game 3, we had Evatrice's celebration as the new witch of the island, but here, nothing. It felt like a complete waste of brain cells. At least, when it comes to solving it in the way we did here. So, it makes me think that you wanted us to solve the epitaph, but not necessarily to get the gold, but to understand something about you. The solution that we have to find connects to you, not to Kinzo and his gold. Like, is this what you're trying to get out of this? That's what I'm thinking.
いいえ。碑文を誰かが解くことで、この子が何かを得ることはありません。
Oh. Well...
いいのか？こいつに断らずに、勝手に赤き真実を使っちまっても。
Well, if we go by what Ranoe said a long time ago, those like him and Virgilia and such, they are not gonna pronounce red truths if Beatrice does not want to.
この子もそれを望むでしょうから。
Right. Virgilia, who had suddenly appeared there, gave me an immediate answer to my question with a red truth.
俺は過去に、ベアトが碑文を俺たちに解かせようとするのは、黄金の隠し場所を見つけさせて、横取りするためだと推理したことがある。それも違うのか？
はい。第一、もともと黄金鏡の黄金はこの子のもの。見つけさせる必要も横取りする必要も何もありません。
Of course. Beato is Beatrice, the Golden. She's the master of the Golden Land and the Ushirumiya family alchemist. That makes total sense. However, if that's true, that makes me even more confused. Even if someone exposes the answer to the epitaph's riddle, Beato gains nothing. No. To the contrary, she might get her own gold stolen away.
なら、ますますにわからない。
I mean, I guess if I'm to spin the chessboard a little, if she doesn't gain anything out of it, maybe by solving the epitaph, she will lose something out of it. Like, I know that Beller said that losing something out of this is not an option, but you never know. Maybe there can be circumstances where somebody have no choice, that somebody would have no choice but to do something, and they are gonna do that even if they are gonna lose something in the process. But I guess technically speaking, that would mean that they are gonna that they are gonna gain something out of it, even if they are gonna lose something else. In which case, like if I had an example, I would be more confident in the idea of Beato losing something out of it, but I guess without an example, I could go with what Beller is saying over here, there is no reason for someone to lose something out of it. Or she's trying to tell us something with this. That maybe with us solving the epitaph, the message will be clear that finding the gold will mean absolutely nothing. That the gold is not important. Which, I mean, it feels like a no-brainer, so I don't know about that one. I mean, for the adults, the idea of something like that is just crazy, given the situation that they're in. But for someone like Battler, I feel like he doesn't really care about the goal to begin with, so a conclusion like that is a bit of a no-brainer, so I don't know.
非分殺人はわかる。後ろ宮家に対する復讐とか、あるいは魔女としての力を復活させるための儀式とか、こいつなりの理由や目的があってやってるんだろうからな。だが、非分の謎を解けというのにはどんな意味があるんだ。俺たちが解いても解かなくても、こいつに得るものは何もない。つまり、ベアトにとって非分の謎が解ける解けないという問題は無価値なものなんだ。
そうですね。非分の謎が解けても解けなくても、この子にとって得るものは何もありません。
解けても解けなくても何の意味もない。それはつまり非分の謎自体がベアトにとって無価値だということになるんじゃないのか。
Oh. The epitaph itself, not the solution, or us trying to solve it. The solution to the epitaph is not what she wants. It's not like solving the epitaph in a completely different way will enable us to understand Beatrice. But the epitaph itself. In which case, the logical thing to do is think about the history of the epitaph. The epitaph itself has meaning to her.
そうですね。非分の謎はこの子にとって何の意味もない。ならばそれを無価値であると極論しても言い返せないかもしれませんね。
Everything you said up until now to clarify our confusion, you said it in red. Except here. Well, in which case, I believe I can take a hint on this one. Battle. Why are you making us solve the riddle of the epitaph? If I liken the witch you are to a pair of scales, the epitaph murders lie on one plate, and the riddle of the epitaph lies on the other plate. Because she's saying that she'll stop the epitaph murders if the epitaph is solved. In other words, the epitaph murders and the epitaph's riddle are worth the same to Battle. Like two sides on a balanced scale. That means that the epitaph's riddle and massacring the entire family have equal significance from Battle's point of view. Alright, well, even if I'm to take a hint here in regards to the epitaph itself, it still stands that it is confusing. Like, I still remember it. You promised yourself back in game 2 that if the epitaph is solved, the ritual will end. Everyone will be saved. Even if I'm to think that the epitaph itself is important to you, even if you, Beatrice, will not gain anything out of it, you promise that the humans will gain something out of it. And that something is their lives. And yet, it's not happening. It didn't happen last time, and it will surely not happen here. Why? Because of the interference of Evatris? Because of the interference of Berncastel Lambda Delta? Well then, in that case, you should have been more clear about when you can keep your promise. Otherwise, it is not that much of a promise to begin with. Like, are you really that secretive? Are you really so closed that you would keep promises? And you're not even going to disclose us the full requirements for the promise to work? But Virgilia responded with red text. Regardless of whether the epitaph is sold or not, Battle has nothing to gain. If she has nothing to gain, then this epitaph's riddle is meaningless and need material for Battle. In that case, how much are the epitaph murders, which lie on the other side of the scales, and are equal to epitaph's riddle value, worth to her? Think. Don't stop thinking. The epitaph murders and solving the riddle of the epitaph have equal worth. As long as the epitaph murders, which are Battle's goal each time, have this single way that they can be solved, a way that she decided on herself, both are worth the same thing to her. X equals Y. And whether the epitaph's riddle is solved or not, Battle gains nothing. Y equals 0. So, in this case, what is X? Oh hey! Magic Math is back!
おいおい。それじゃ、非分殺人もまた、無意味、無価値ってことになっちまうぞ。こいつは、ご丁寧に予告状を出し、非分に沿うように順番にバレないように次々殺していくというめちゃくちゃ面倒な手間を払ってまで毎度あのおかしな連続殺人を起こしてるんだぜ。その意味がなくなっちまうじゃねえか。
I flipped over the chessboard many times, exploring Bato's moves. And this was always the first place I stumbled. And the significance of the epitaph murders. Why did she have to commit serial murders in a way that reproduced the witch's epitaph? If she wanted to kill the whole Bushirumiya family for revenge, it would be much simpler, safer, and more reliable if you just put poison into their dinner. Or else went around killing people one by one in the middle of the night while they were sleeping. However, on the first evening, Bato sends us a letter that sounds like an advance notice, and then carries out what could be broadly described as a 3-part serial murder, killing 6 people on the first twilight, 2 on the second, and 5 on the fourth and later. We aren't fools. Once the first murders occur, we barricade ourselves in somewhere to stave off any further murders. Furthermore, we quickly suspect the culprit among us and start analyzing each other's alibis. As the victims increase, the number of suspects decreases automatically. And Bato's chances of completing the serial murder drop closer and closer to 0. Everything about the epitaph murders is full of useless ornament and empty decoration. And it only seems to make it harder for her to carry out the serial murder.
こいつは自分で自分の目的の難易度
そうなりますね。おかしな子ですね。
知ってるか？ミステリー小説ではこういう非分殺人のことを見立て殺人という。この見立て殺人が行われる理由を俺は3つに大別できると思ってる。
Nursery rhyme murders.
伺いましょう。
一つは非分に沿うことで証拠やアリバイをごまかし犯人に利するためだ。死んだふりをして自らを犠牲者に混ぜる古典もこれだし、非分に沿わずに殺人を犯し、その発生順序を誤解させることによって アリバイを作るのもこれだ。
なるほど。碑文に沿って儀式的に殺していると見せかけて、実は自分に利するように誘導しているわけですね。
You don't say. Okay. I'm definitely gonna have to write this down. Like, nursery rhyme murder, huh? Okay, well, what else?
面白いと思います。
だが俺たちのゲームでは死者が赤でとどめを刺されちまう。ゲーム版の世界ではごまかせても、ここから俯瞰する俺たちはごまかせない。だからこの最も王道となる目的は違うってことになる。
となると、見立て殺人を行うあと2つの理由は？
一つは偶然。意図せずして行った連続殺人がたまたま碑文をなぞる形になり、目撃者たちが勝手に見立て殺人だと誤解するケース。人間はどのような事象にも因果性を求めてしまう。きっとそうに違いないと思ったら、そう見えてしまう生き物だ。
なるほど。それも面白いですね。ですがどうでしょう。
I mean, I would definitely have to say that if it just happens that the culprit did the murders without intending it to look like the epitaph murder, then it sure feels like a cosmic coincidence, since everyone knows about the epitaph. In order for this to happen, the culprit needs to know absolutely nothing about the epitaph. Otherwise, it just feels like too much of a cosmic coincidence that the murderers just so happened to look like the epitaph, even if the culprit didn't know about it in the first place. Like gouging legs and stomachs and such. 6 deaths right out the get-go. It's... ugh.
この子のゲームでは第一の晩の殺人以前に常に事件が予告されている。そして明白に非分殺人を遂行していることを示す手紙や状況証拠が次々に見つかるはずです。
ああ、そうだな。偶然なんかじゃない。ベアトは初めから非分殺人を見せつける目的で遂行している。俺たちが誤解してるんじゃない。これは明白な見立て殺人なんだ。だからこの理由でもない。
となると最後の一つの理由になりますね。
最後の一つは見せつけること、つまり恐怖だ。碑文に沿うということは殺人が連続するという明白な予告だ。生存者たちは続くに違いない殺人にずっと怯えさせられることになる。
つまりこの子は死の恐怖を味わわせるために非分殺人を。
と思うと割と収まりがいい。
On a surface level, it makes the most sense. I mean, again, the epitaph has been shoved down our faces, and we have been told that, hey, the murders will continue till you solve the epitaph. The murders themselves can be meant to induce fear into people so that they have more reason to solve the epitaph. I mean, that's what initially you would think, but that would imply that this is what Beato wanted, which is definitely not the case, because, again, it is stated in red that she gains nothing out of us solving the epitaph. Like, if we go with the magical equation from before, which, I'm not gonna say that Battler's way of thinking over here is 100% what we should go with, But for now, we shall definitely go with that. Like, if we go with the magical equation from before, it means that she gains nothing out of these epitaph murders either. So, for the culprit to do these murders to induce fear, that would imply that our culprit is trying to gain something out of all this, which doesn't really make sense. Okay, let me hear what Beller has to say about this.
That idiot. Guess it is time for me to pick up the slack, since he's not gonna take this seriously. Shannon being the main culprit of these games does have merit, and some of the schemes Noby mentioned in regards to the Twilights, they seem fine. But Kanon could have done them too. As for the 5th Twilight of the first game, well, it can very well be easily explained by Kanon faking his death. It avoids the red truth in that case, so it should be something like this. Kanon faked his death, with fake blood sprayed on his chest, and the stake laying on the ground to give off the illusion of him being stabbed with that. Nanjo, in cahoots with Kanon, went along with it and brought Kanon to the servant room, so that he would disappear afterwards into the shadows. Also, the exit to the boiler room could have been opened to give off the illusion of a culprit escaping, but no one actually ran through the door before Beller and Nazi. With this, Kanon is free to kill in the shadows and complete the remaining Twilights. And he could have easily done the first Twilight, similarly to what Noby mentioned. So, if we go with the idea that Kanon is a culprit of Game 2, the first Twilight can easily be explained. The door to the chapel was never locked to begin with, so Kanon could have easily killed the 6 adults, and then left easily through the door, with Rosa being in cahoots with Kanon to pretend that the door was locked in the morning, and having to bring in the key to give out the illusion of her locking the door. I am sure that, if I am to think about it a little more, I can pin Kanon as the culprit of the following Twilights in the second game. But the last Twilight in Nazi's room is most certainly a problem. As far as I can see, there is no way for me to pin Kanon as the murderer of George, Gora, and Shannon. So the only option that I can think of is one that Noby would probably think of, which is Shannon killed George and Gora inside Nazi's room, and then committed suicide. Rosa had nothing to do with this, given that she had all the master keys, and she was in the parlor with Bella and Maria the entire time. It would seem that this is one of the few exceptions that I have for Noby's theory. It could very well have been that Shannon did the murder in this situation. I would praise his flexibility if he weren't so naive to mostly focus on Sakutaro's revival now, instead of the mystery at hand. There is nothing more to that moment than what has been deduced, and for him to try and find a deeper meaning is just useless. The stuffed toy is not handmade by Rosa, and Angie found another Sakutaro and brought it to Maria to make her feel better. I guess from what I can see though, Noby sees this as a mundane solution that goes against what he thought would be a magical moment, and he's trying to think on it more and spin it in a positive light, to link the mundane solution to what true magic should represent, even though he doesn't comprehend what magic even is to begin with. Truly a waste of time. However, his will to keep going against all odds, it is commendable. And I cannot say that I didn't try to think just like him before and find other possibilities. But as far as I can see, there is nothing more to it. The single truth of that moment is the one and only mundane solution. And the only thing we can do is face that truth and become stronger because of it. Or... bleh. Alright. If he thinks that there is a better solution for it, then I should see what it is he's thinking of, and prepare a counter-argument for it. Maybe I can use that special move of his that he loves doing in order to come up with something new.
So, have you had any breakthrough?
Nope. I cannot say that I have anything to go in order to truly understand the essence of Sakutaro's revival.
One can... Oh, why hello there. Look at this, Noby. Is she just beautiful? I think I'm gonna call her B. What's up, B? You know, if you are to ask my personal opinion, given our current situation, nothing screams freedom more than a butterfly, flapping her wings into the distance without any worry. Freedom. When you look at the enemy we have now, it really makes you ponder on how dangerous it can be when freedom is in danger of no longer existing. All the more reason that when you are free to express yourself without any obstacle and grow wings, you should cherish it. Bye bye, B. You are thinking that the human claim explanation of Sakutaro's revival is not what you would have expected. That it is not as grand as you envisioned it all to be. Thus, you are thinking that the supposed solution to what happened goes against the beautiful and magical explanation that one can get out of it. Yeah, that's the gist of it. What if I were to tell you that in the palm of your hand, you have what it needs to solve it, using that one special move that you loved using in the past? I guess I can see where you're trying to get at with that.